Good morning and welcome to another edition of United Way for Southeastern Michigan's What's the Word Wednesday, where we share important resources and have vibrant discussions about the topics that matter to you. My name is Audrey Walker, and today we are talking about the importance of volunteerism as we celebrate Global Volunteer Month and feature the incredible work by Detroit Hives in keeping Detroit a bee city. A few reminders for today's discussion. We hope to have time for a few questions from the audience. So please put your questions in the chat box on Zoom or into the comments section if you're watching on Facebook. Closed captions are enabled in Zoom and Facebook Live. To turn them on, please click on the Show Captions button at the bottom of your screen. April is Global Volunteer Month, a time we recognize people around the world who selflessly lend their time and talents to their communities while positively impacting the world. This April, United Way for Southeastern Michigan recognized 34 passionate advocates in our communities through our volunteer honor roll. And now I'd like to introduce you to our speakers for today. We have Tim Jackson, who are Detroit natives and founders and directors for Detroit Hives. Detroit Hives is a nonprofit organization working to improve underserved communities for people and pollinators by transforming vacant lots into educational green spaces. Detroit Hives was founded in 2016 and now exists in over 29 locations in collaboration with community residents, organizations, schools, and businesses to provide social, environmental, and financial impact. So we want to welcome Tim and Nicole for being here with us today and sharing more about Detroit Hives. So welcome.
Awesome. Thank you for having us. Super excited to be here and share the work that we're super passionate about.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah. So again, what is Detroit Hives? We operate as a 501c3 nonprofit organization, primarily focused on creating a social, environmental, and financial impact. In short, we believe a healthy future for bees reflects a healthy future for humanity. Particularly here in the city of Detroit, there are quite a few vacant lots here in the city, and we're working to revitalize these vacant lots to not only support the people in our communities, but also pollinators. Now, a pollinator could be anything that can help transport seed from one flower to the next. So this could be done by beneficial insects like bees, bats, butterflies, etc., wasps, hornets. They're all pollinators, and they're responsible for 90% of our food production. Slide. Around 2016, the Detroit Land Bank owned around 97,000 parcels. The majority of the land bank parcels were 85% vacant. With support from local residents, community organizations, and urban farmers, to date that number is decreasing, which is great. However, with a lot of the vacant lots, they've been really supportive and, or I would say, in increasing native bee populations. Michigan is home to over 465 native bee species. And these vacant lots have been supporting a lot of our native bee species, but we know that these vacant lots are not really the best thing to have in our community. So how do we find a way to make them supportive for both people and pollinators? So there have been some studies with vacant lots, and University of Michigan as well as Michigan State University have found out that most of these vacant lots have been boosting native bee populations. So we wanted to find a way, how do we work with residents to reactivate and repurpose these vacant lots again to support people and pollinators? We found a very unique way of doing this. On to the next slide. Again, since 2016, we started with our very first project, the East Warren Apiary. Fast forward 8 years from now, we now exist in over 29 locations, working together to create a social, environmental, and financial impact. And all this work, we cannot do it by ourselves. We would love to highlight some of our wonderful partners. Some of our partners include the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, Peachtree Parks, United Way, of course, Michigan State University, Visit Detroit, Co-op Detroit, and National Recreation Foundation, just to list a few.
Next slide.
Yeah. And just want to share some of our premier locations, starting with the East Warren Apiary.
So here you have picture these students from DA. So this is Detroit Academy of Arts and Sciences, and they got a chance to visit our site and actually go in and visit our hives.
Yeah. And the next slide. So it's one thing to learn about pollinators within the classroom, but it's a totally different experience being able to involve these students, have them suit up and explore urban beehives. It's a great experience for them to get a hands-on learning opportunity.
Next slide.
Now, the city of Detroit has been dubbed the Motor City for over 100 years. And recently, with our efforts on helping to designate Detroit as a bee city, we wanted to find a way, how do we marry the two? Detroit being the Motor City, but also a bee city. We introduced what's called the Motor City Garden. It's an upcycled Oldsmobile cutlass to serve as a living pollinator habitat at the East Warren Apiary. On this project, we work with Team GM Cares to remove all the internal parts, the engine, the grills, and we inserted native bee tubes in addition to working with local artists from the Heidelberg Project to paint beautiful native bees and honeybees on this car.
Next slide.
Another way we can support pollinators is by creating botanical gardens or pollinator habitats. On this photo, we work with Ally Financial to plant a selection of native plants and non-native plants to support our pollinators. So the #1 decline with insects is habitat loss. So it's really important that we create pollinator habitats or botanical gardens to provide crucial space for our pollinators.
Go to the next slide. This is just more photos of their participation with us.
Yeah. And in this slide, we have images of another location that's near and dear to us. It's a partnership with Wayne State University, where we keep 2 honeybee hives at their CNIT data center. In addition, honey harvested from our hives at Wayne State University is then sold at their student center Midtown Market.
Next slide.
Also, we're super excited to partner with Michigan State DP Fly for Detroit Partnership for Food Learning Innovation. In doing so, in 2023, we established what's called the Go Green Botanical Garden in partnership with the Americana Foundation and MSU DP Fly. Next slide. And here's a photo of their front signage on location.
Next slide.
And then also a selection of images of our Go Green Botanical Garden. This site was completed in 2023. We planted well over 150 perennials with support from community residents, local businesses, and organizations as well. And what's unique about this site is that it serves as a botanical garden, meaning that it supports the scientific research, education, and display and conservation of pollinators. In addition, we also have a native bee home that looks very similar to a honeybee hive, so that all ages can interact with this native bee hive and learn more about native bees in their solitary environment. Yep, and that's an aerial shot of the Go Green Botanical Garden. Moving on to the next slide. In addition to partnering with universities, we also partner with urban farmers, like, for example, Griffin Gardens. There we work with local artists like Sheafy McFly to paint beautiful murals on all of our beehives so that we can usher in new conversations around art and conservation.
And this is also a part of our Mini Murals initiative that we have with artists around the city of Detroit.
And since 2017, we work with over 10 international artists to paint mini murals on all of our beehives. Next slide.
See, here, the next slide is our Airbnb. This site where you see the Boy Scouts standing there, this is one of their senior projects, and they were able to create this garden, but also this native bee home that supports our native bees.
So unlike honeybees, native bees don't travel as far. They only travel between 300 to 500 feet. So it's really important for them to find local groceries nearby. And local groceries for them includes nectar, pollen, water, and propolis. So it's really important that we have local food in forms of flowers, but also shelter for them for nesting. So not only do we support our managed honeybee colonies, but also it's really important that we support our native bees as well.
Next slide. All right, this site is also near and dear to me because this is near a site where I grew up at. This is our Brightmoor Pollinator Habitat. So here we have our 300 perennials planted. This actually took us a month to actually complete. We did this back in September of 2020. This gave people opportunity during the pandemic to actually come outside and participate and volunteer and help us plant these 300 perennials. So at this site, we have yarrow, bee balm, echinacea, rough blazing stars, just to name a few, also milkweed.
Yep. And here are just some of the images of some of the beautiful native plants that we have planted here. Also, we love to share some of the wonderful events and magic that happen at all of our sites. So our sites are not just for pollinators or for the conservation, it's for people and pollinators to help support civic engagement and community engagement opportunities. So here there's opportunities for a community to tour our site and learn about pollinators. And a lot of these opportunities are intergenerational, where we're seeing parents, their children, and grandparents participate all as well. It's a great learning experience.
Next slide. Yep, so here we have a summer group. This is their summer camp that they got a chance to actually go out and explore our hives.
Yep, especially working with homeschoolers, a group of homeschoolers where they can participate in learning outdoor learning opportunities and educational opportunities as well. Yeah, next slide.
This is also another group of students that we worked with who came and visit our site as well. And as you can see, they got a chance to go with me and explore the hive. And what you see them holding right there is a brood frame. So they get to learn about the inner workings inside the colony.
And these were students for the Old Redford Academy.
You can go to the next slide.
Yeah. And here's another group shot from students of the Old Redford Academy touring these sites. So what's great about transferring vacant lots is that you can support your native bees, help Detroit a bee city, but also helping students be involved in part of that project as well.
Next slide. And as we mentioned before, our sites and our tours are made and designated for all ages.
So working with seniors, working with middle-aged adults, and also youth as well, creating opportunities for intergenerational learning experiences. Even working with garden clubs. In this case, we work with the Senior Garden Club of Dearborn for them to tour our Brightmore Pollinator habitat as well.
All right, next slide.
Yeah. Again, our sites is about working to create a social, environmental, and financial impact. In this case, we partner with YEP to host wonderful events in the community, wonderful opportunities for others to get involved, to support and volunteer at our sites.
Once again, it's people and pollinators.
Yeah. And here just additional photos of the YEP event, preparing to host a tour and for others to get involved with our site. Also, in this photo, we partner with Motor Om Yoga. It's a great opportunity to get others involved into plant and bee conservation. When most times you hear about bees, most people tend to shy away with wasps or other insects. We want to find a way, how do we engage others in our space? And one great way is do mindfulness and do meditation with bee yoga.
And so these next slides will show people from our bee yoga event. Yeah. Next slide.
Yeah.
Next slide.
Yep. And just additional photos from bee yoga and volunteer civic engagement opportunities.
All right, so this is our volunteer days. This one that we're showing right here. This was actually from this a couple weeks ago. Well, actually a month ago. This was 313 Day. We had students from Wayne State who came out to volunteer with us at our sites.
Yeah. So working again with universities, community organizations, and businesses to host civic engagement opportunities.
Next slide. And this is a group, this is from University Liggett. This is their 11th graders. They get to work with us every year annually with a new batch of 11th graders who come out and volunteer to any of our sites.
Okay.
Next slide.
Oh, wow. Check that out. So we know there's quite a bit of buzz with the NFL draft, and it's bringing a lot of attention to the city of Detroit. But also, how do we find a way to engage pollinators in this attention and quite this buzz? So in support of the NFL draft, we found ways to engage others in pollinator conservation.
Next slide.
So while you're making your way downtown, please check out part of our Decleated project, in which we partner with international artist Cameron Jenkins to paint a beautiful bee-themed artwork. It's right in front of the David Whitney building. And this goes right along with helping designate Detroit as a bee city.
Next slide.
In addition, we partner with other organizations and community associations like the Cranbrook Science Art to provide educational opportunities, and then also like FREC, the Ford Resource Engagement Center, to provide educational opportunities for their youth and their children as well.
Next slide.
And again, we're super excited to help designate Detroit as a B City. This work was supported by Councilman Tate and supported Detroit B City Committee and Detroit Hives to work with municipalities to support the ethical treatment of native bees. This includes Michigan's 465 native bee species, like our bumblebees, our leafcutter bees,
Our cuckoo bees,
our mason bees, our orchard bees. The list goes on. Over 465 native bee species that reside here in Michigan.
All right, next slide.
There are 210 bee cities in the United States. Detroit is the 207th certified Bee City USA affiliate.
Next slide.
So what is a bee city? A bee city is a program through the Xerxes Society that works to galvanize communities to sustain pollinators in over 5,000 species of native bees here in the US. And we do this by increasing the abundance of native plants, providing nesting sites, and reducing the harmful use of chemicals as well.
Next slide.
Also, we are super excited to expand with another one of our initiatives is that we created National Urban Beekeeping Day. And next slide. And this work was supported through a House Resolution number 141 with the help of 10 state representatives.
Next slide.
Last but not least, we thank you for spending your morning with us and learning a little bit more about our organization and how you can help keep Detroit a bee city by converting vacant land into pollinator habitats or growing spaces.
Feel free to join the Hive. And here on our social media handles, we'll update on volunteer opportunities and what's going on with our sites.
So feel free to
Awesome. Thank you so much.
platforms. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. So I know I was excited going into this conversation. And then after seeing all the photos and learning about all that you do with so many different people in the community, I'm even more excited. And we do have a lot of great questions here. And I just want to remind everyone who's watching that you can put comments in the comment box if you're watching on Facebook or in the chat box on Zoom. But we do have a couple of questions. And our first question is actually related to kind of preparing the sites. There was a question revolving around how do you prepare for like the soil for the flowers, and like do you have to take in consideration certain things as far as contamination goes or anything like that, especially since you are transforming these vacant lots?
Absolutely. So all of our sites have to undergo soil testing. So we work with wonderful partners with Keep Growing Detroit and Michigan State University Extension to host those soil testings because they can be prone to having other exposure to lead or other type of hazardous chemicals. Although we are growing flowers, we do want to be mindful of what's on our site and any type of potential contamination.
And you know, that we had some other questions too, just people talking about like what types of plants can we plant or should we know about to help the native bees and this, you know, ecosystem?
Yeah, so I would highly suggest native wildflowers that are seasonal, something that's blooming between the spring, the summer, and also late fall. Particularly great plants to have in your garden will be things like anise hyssop, different types of mint,
Yeah, bee balm,
echinaceas, black-eyed Susans, goldenrod for the late fall is wonderful. Thistles are also great to plant as well.
Yes, and
milkweed,
rough blazing star. I can't get to the ones that pop in the late fall.
Different type of asters as well.
Asters,
so you have white and purple asters as well. Mountain mint, a selection. I will focus on creating a selection of diverse plants that range from the different seasons from spring, summer, and fall.
Okay.
Perennials preferred.
It sounds like there's a lot to choose from, right?
Oh, that's quite a selection.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
It sounds like there's a lot to choose from as far as native plants, and we have so many questions here. People are very excited about day camps coming, things like that. And I know we're talking about volunteer month. So Can you share what value volunteers bring to your organization and how more people in the community can get involved with your organization?
Absolutely. So volunteering or providing these opportunities are a great way for others to first learn a little bit more about our organization, to have some stake in our project and some of our sites, but also a great way to educate others on the importance of pollinators. Many times most people volunteer for our site, they have no clue about how great pollinators are beneficial to our landscape and how they contribute to our food systems. So really a great opportunity for education, a great opportunity to show an interest in our neighborhood and stake of our project as well.
Yeah, but a great opportunity to get their hands in the dirt too. So a lot of times our volunteer opportunities are all about planting, weeding, and maintaining our sites. So it gives them an opportunity to volunteer outside and help with the garden.
And then you mentioned you can find all these opportunities on social at Detroit Hives, and I know we put a form in the chat too, like a link to a form in the chat too. So that's awesome. We do have some more questions regarding the bees and our native area, and people were asking, so what are the differences between the way like wasp hives look and honeybees look, and then we don't want to mistake one for the other. So, getting people comfortable with bees, I think, is really important too, right? Since they're so important to, like I said, our ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the next coming weeks or months, so May and June, we're gonna start seeing a lot of bee swarms
Honeybee
come,
swarms.
honeybee swarms. So honeybees, they're gonna be clustered up pretty much in a tree. There are brown and black in color. If you think about honey, honey comes in a variety of different shades of ambers. So you can think about bees and their color.
And they will be exposed. And you're looking at thousands upon thousands of honeybees. If you see this, do not panic, do not be alarmed, and do not spray these honeybees. We really need them. Please contact your local beekeeper or contact Detroit Hives, and we will come out and freely remove or relocate those honeybees. Now, a thing about wasps or hornets, hornets tend to make a structure. Honeybees do not make no type of nesting or home. They're just exposed. So if you see some type of nesting, which you'll typically see around July or late fall, it looks like a football or some type of nest in your tree. Those are bald-faced hornets. That is not a beehive. Those are not
Yellow
bees.
jackets.
Those are bald-faced hornets. If you see those, they're great pollinators, and they do a very good job at eliminating a lot of harmful insects in our garden. I will avoid, if they're not bothering you, just leave them alone. They'll leave you alone. Also, when it comes to wasps or yellow jackets, they tend to bury on the ground or in little small cracks in our easement. One thing that we can do to deter yellow jackets from our home garden or our backyard from our grounding is by filling up any type of hole. If you see holes in your backyard, fill it up with some soil. If you have small cracks around your home, you can chalk that with some type of sealant to keep that area filled. And then also another great way is by smearing or rubbing peppermint oil around your home
Or citronella oil.
or citronella oil to deter those wasps from your backyard. Now, wasps are also pollinators and do a very good job at eliminating harmful insects in your home garden. For example, at one of our pollinator habitat sites, we had some yellow aphids that were visiting or chewing on our milkweed. Now, yellow aphids, they deter or they repel ladybugs. So ladybugs can't normally go after these yellow aphids because they chew on that milkweed. But in this case, the yellow jackets were able to eat and eliminate all those aphids so that our milkweed can survive and thrive.
Yeah. So also with the yellow jackets. So they are yellow and black, and then the ones who have the big hornet nest, those are black and white.
Yep. And yellow jackets tend to be hairless. They're black and yellow, and they look very similar to honeybees to an untrained eye. Honeybees tend to be around the honey color spectrum from different shades of brown, blacks, and dark browns as well. And bald-faced hornets are large black and white insects.
Yeah. And so also right now too, with the hornets and the yellow jackets, their queens are only out building the nest first. So if you do this early, then you kind of can eliminate those nests. It'll be easier because she's just by herself. Because once she builds the nest, then she'll start laying eggs.
This is so helpful, and we've got a lot more questions coming through, and you both are so knowledgeable. We have a question here about where do you get your bees? Are they locally sourced swarms? And then kind of just to go along with all this, the question I had in the beginning was just, how did you get into this work? So if you can answer maybe both those questions, I don't know if they correspond with each other, but I'd love to hear a little more about how you got into this work as well.
Yes, we'd love to entertain those questions. So, as it relates to bees, we of course rescue and relocate swarms. So that's some way how we collect bees. In addition to that, we buy our bees locally from local beekeepers, and we make sure that our bees are climatized or they're mite resistant. So there's many different type of species or hybrids of bees. We prefer Saccatraz, which is a mixture of Canadian and Africanized, because we want our bees to have a little bit of bite to them. The more resistant your bees are, they're better off fighting off any type of diseases and pests in your colony and have a greater chance of survival as well. Now, how we got into this magical world of beekeeping, it all stemmed from a call to action from the city of Detroit. They announced that our city currently had well over 90,000 vacant lots during 2016. Nicole and I wanted to find a way, how do we give back to our community, but also how do we find a way to change the narrative about what people think about our city? So at this time, we wanted to find a way to transform these vacant lots into something that was different, innovative, and never been done before. Originally, we thought about a peacock farm. We thought about an outdoor photography studio. We thought about an urban glamping space. All these were great ideas, but we really didn't act on them. Around that time, around moving to December of 2016, I had this really bad cough and cold and stumbled across local raw honey. From there, I got rid of my cough and cold, more about pollinators and how bees make local raw honey. Then it became Nicole's idea on let's transform a vacant lot into a bee farm. So that's how the idea began. Since then, we took courses, became certified beekeepers, and we've been working with local organizations and beekeeping groups thus far.
Love that story. That's so awesome. And I love that too, because any one of us could see something right in our community and say, how can we be the person to make that difference? And you're doing it in so many different ways. And I love how you say that with people and pollinators, again, all these different groups, artists, all the intergenerational learning experiences. Like that's how you build a community. It's so incredible, all this work that you are doing. And I really appreciate you sharing that story again, because it really highlights how you can be the person to see something in your community and say, okay, what are these ideas that we have and how do we, contribute to turning it around, for the city and the different communities in our area. So I think that's just so amazing. So thank you so much for that and providing that. And again, we really appreciate you sharing all the work that you're doing. I know everyone on the call today is very excited now to get more involved with you all. At Detroit Hives, I know you can find more information, as you highlighted, July 19th, National Beekeeping Day too. And it seems like you do a lot of work year round in the community, not just spring and summer, obviously too. So we, again, thank you so much for all the work that you're doing in the community, the way that you're helping to build up our community in this unique and interesting and important way. So we really appreciate you having the time to talk to us today and introduce people and have us all learn more about Detroit Hives.
Yes.
So before
Absolutely.
we close,
Again,
I
thank you
do
for
have,
having us.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying thank you for having us. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah. So before we go, I just have a few more updates for our audience here. So I just want to remind everybody that for anyone in our community who may be experiencing a need, our 211 helpline remains available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it includes getting you connected to resources like food, utility assistance, and much, much more. So we always maintain a running list of available resources in the community and can connect you to the support you need. So you can look up local resources by using our 211 resource database at unitedwaysem.org/211. And as we were talking about April being Global Volunteer Month, we're always promoting that it's not just in April that you can volunteer, but you can volunteer year-round with organizations like Detroit Hives and others. And one of the best ways you can find these opportunities is through our online portal, and that's at unitedwaysem.org/volunteer. You can search for different opportunities that match your talents and abilities and get different messages to you that can say, hey, we need you right now, or you can really see about what's available in different volunteer projects or organizations that you care most about. So we would love for you to check out that website, unitedwaysem.org/volunteer. And coming up in May, we have our 4th annual 21-day equity challenge. So we're asking if you are ready to rise to the challenge and create a more equitable future. And we would love for you to join us this year. You can sign up by going to unitedwaysem.org/equity challenge. During the challenge, you get a series of emails and a chance to participate in a lot of different ways, both virtually and in person, doing our Community Action Fridays this year. So we would love to see you at those. And then in conjunction with the Equity Challenge, we're excited to bring you an equity-focused town hall series in May and June. So look for updates on these upcoming topics and speakers in the next few weeks. And to stay updated on upcoming topics or watch replays of any previous town halls, we would love for you to visit unitedwaysem.org/virtual town halls. So we so appreciate you joining us today. Thank you so much, and continue to live united. We'll see you next time.